Hello, David F underscore pilot underscore 1990 on Twitch, and thought I'd do my NHL playoff bracket challenge predictions. Let's start in the West, of course. Let's start with excuse me, Colorado and Nashville. I think this is pretty much a fairly easy one to predict. Colorado is a powerhouse in the West. They got Nathan McKinnon, Kyle McCarr, um, other players I can't tell off the top of my head, but I think that and Nashville's just struggling at the end of the season here, and with usually Saros out and David Riddick having to play as the starter and being a Calgary Flames fan and seeing how David Riddick plays the playoffs, I just don't think he's at that caliber yet. So this is an easy Colorado is going to win that series. Then we go to Minnesota and St. Louis, the two Central Division second and third place team in the Central Division. Pretty close in points. I think Minnesota finished with 111 and St. Louis finished with 109 points. St. Louis is still a very solid team. They still have Tarasenko and Biddington and other players that could do damage in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, from what I've seen, I saw Minnesota play the other night as the Flames played them in their second last game. They seem like a pretty dangerous team, and they do have the one edge, and that is veteran and three-time Stanley Cup winning goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury. So I think Minnesota is going to have the edge in the series, and it's going to be Minnesota winning that series. Now, Calgary, Dallas, no bias needed here. This is just based off pure talent. I'm sorry to say I'm not being biased here, but the Flames are going to win this series. The reason why I say that is, first of all, we got Daryl Sutter as our coach. And we got a lot of players that are just rolling right now. The Flames are coming in to the playoffs. They're coming a lot different than they normally do. Normally they kind of go for a falling out or a lull at the end of the season, and that carries off into the playoffs, and then they don't do very well. But they just have so many players rolling right now. You got Markstrom had a few days off, a couple games off. The rest, he's playing well between the pipes. You got Kachuk just rolling. What's going to be a big question mark is he always is Gaudreau. He's playing well. I think they have the defensive core now, the Flames, to shut out, protect Johnny, and he can still do his dangles and stuff. And not just that, they also got so many players playing so well this year, and going to probably carry it into the playoffs. You got Mangiapane playing unreal. You got Dylan Dubé, he's playing unreal. Like I said, Markstrom's playing well in between the pipes. Valdar is great for a backup. And this honestly reminds me of an 04 Calgary Flames team, just a lot of pure talent showing up at the right time. And honestly, Kiprusoff in 04 was Finnish, and Markstrom's from Czech Republic, I think. Can't remember off the top of my head. And Valdar is from Russia, and he's a big guy, big tall guy, Valdar. Actually, Markstrom is the same too, big guy. It just reminds me of the kind of Kiprasov Turek era in '04 when he upset all those teams, and and even so many players are playing well. As I said, I try not to spend too much on the time on the Flames, but even the acquires and the deals that Brad Treleving made at the trade deadline. We brought I can't remember his name, that Swedish player in that has ties to Elias Lindholm and Michael Backlund, and the chemistry they're going to have if they play on lines together or whatnot. And honestly, Tyler Toffoli bringing in Tyler Toffoli, he's won a cup, at least one cup, maybe two with LA. So he's been coached by Sutter. He knows what Sutter requires. And even last year, the boom to bust team, as you call it, Montreal, who went from the top, played a very good series, I said, against the Lightning last year in the Stanley Cup Final. Weird series with COVID. But anyway, Tyler Toffoli has proven, even when he was with Montreal last year, like he can perform in the playoffs. So but I think even with Dallas's goaltending is very not unskilled. They're no, both of them have no playoff experience, and Markstrom has playoff experience with Vancouver, and just with the core that Calgary has right now, I just don't see Dallas winning. I think they could get the 5 or 6 games, maybe 7. It's going to be a tough series, and yeah, Calgary is going to win this series. That leads us to Edmonton and LA. Now that is a surprise. LA getting in. Yeah, they're an upcoming and good team. They still got some great talent with, well, Dustin Brown's retiring at the end of this year, but they still got Kopitar. They got Quick, and they got some good players in development from what I know. But Edmonton's just had that upset and I think this is the year they're going to overcome that. They have a bit of an easier way to get in with a more inexperienced LA team. And no, it's not because I'm being biased. I want to see the Battle of Alberta. But I just think the Edmonton just has that edge. Connor McDavid wants to win a cup, or wants to potentially win a cup and get past the second round. Draisaitl playing unreal. Smith, from what I've heard, is playing unreal. I think they may play Smith more than Koskinen, just from watching him when we played Colorado back a couple years ago. He doesn't play that well in the season, but Mike Smith brings it in the playoffs. He's known to be a playoff goalie, and I'm just gonna say Edmonton is going to win that series. Colorado, Nashville. I'm going to say 5 games. That's 6 would be conservative. With injuries with Saros for Nashville, and Colorado just being so good both defensively and offensively, I just don't see that going more than 5 games. St. Louis, Minnesota. That's going to go 7 games. That's going to be a tough series, but I think Minnesota's going to, with home ice advantage and Fleury, they're going to pull up on top. I don't want to Calgary, Dallas. I don't want to give too much credit to the Flames and jinx them too much, but I think Calgary's going to do that in 6 games. Dallas is going to win a game or 2. I can see maybe 1 in Dallas and maybe 1 in Calgary, maybe game 2 and 4. 3 and 5. I don't know how it'll go, but that's definitely going to be Calgary. And with this one, LA's a fairly good team, so I'm going to do the same with. Going to make it tough just because the experience they have. I'm going to say 6. I want to say 5, but I think it'll be bad. Go 6. Florida, Washington. That's a tough one. We have Florida playing really, really well. Uh, I don't know. Is Florida going to get through? Are they experienced enough? They have Bobrovsky. He's known not to be the greatest, most consistent goalie. But Washington, I don't know. I'm going to go to the analysis on this one. This is a tough one. I think I'm gonna. I don't know. Does Florida have it, or are they just a really young and inexperienced team? Washington has more depth, and I just feel an upset on this one. I'm gonna go with Washington. Toronto, Tampa Bay. Um, Toronto's playing really well. They're rolling at the end of the season. Their players are playing well. Matthews is playing well. Marner's playing well. Campbell's playing well, fairly well. He's been inconsistent here and there, but the way I look at this and how it's different, and I'm leaning more to Toronto winning thing, is first of all how hard it is in this league to three-peat. Just the fact that nobody's done it since the Islanders in the 80s, and there's way more teams now. And more the fact that Tampa has, yeah, they won back-to-back, but both those seasons were shortened. Of course, COVID starting in 2020, so that season was ended in early March. They didn't finish games that they just went into the playoffs, win in round, and then right into the playoffs. Tampa won. They played Dallas. But now they're playing an 82 game season. Do they have the juice and the energy, especially playing so late into the year with COVID and whatnot? Does Tampa have the ability to go deep? I don't know. I'm going to have to say no three-peat. Toronto is going to win this series. I think it's definitely going to be a 7-game series, but I think Toronto is going to come up on top. Carolina, Boston. I think Boston has a good team. They have a solid team, but Carolina is just really, really good. You have so many players playing good for Carolina. You got, um, there's so many good players, and they got Brendan Moore as their coach, and I don't know. With the loss of Tuukka Rask, Boston's solid goalie, do they have the goaltending that it is to beat a team that like Carolina? I don't know. I think Carolina's going to win this series. And New York, Pittsburgh. Now that's an interesting one. I think that's going to be New York. To be honest, I know they were they were in a rebuild and they were getting better and better, but they're surprised. I don't know. I think they're the dark horse this season. They really surprised me and other people. I think that the Rangers were gonna finish in the second seed, seed in the Metropolitan Division. I'm really surprised about that, and I thought they might be flirting, kind of testing waters with a wild card spot in the East, but Pittsburgh's just getting older. Crosby's getting older. Malkin's getting older. They no longer have Fleury. They no longer have their main. They've lost some of their core from their championship team in 16 and 17. So I don't know. I see New York winning that series. It's gonna be an interesting one, but Florida, Washington. I think that's going to be a 7-game series. Tampa, Toronto, that's going to be some series. Toronto's going to come over top, but Tampa's not going to give them an easy road. Carolina, Boston. Boston doesn't really have Tuukka Rask anymore. I think that's going to be 6 games. And then Pittsburgh and New York. I still think Pittsburgh's going to give New York a run for their money and is really going to make it a tough series just because they still have that veteran leadership. But their core is getting older. I think that's going to be New York Rangers, as I said, in 7 games. Back out to the West. Colorado, Minnesota. You got a good upcoming solid win or maybe bust team in Colorado, and Minnesota has a veteran goalie and several good players. Looking at the matchup, they're really, really close. They have more. Well, Minnesota scores more. Yeah. Just with the tier depth and how they look on paper, I think Colorado is going to win that. It's probably going to be a 7-game series, but yeah, it's going to be Colorado probably in 7. That's going to be a great series to watch if it works out to be that. Calgary, Edmonton. Oh boy, the Battle of Alberta. I think the first Battle of Alberta in 20-something years. I think the last time they played was 1990 or 91, early 90s. That being said, yeah, Edmonton has a solid goalie in Smith and Koskinen, but the Flames goaltender situation is just that bit stronger. They got Mark's Unreal and a big guy and big solid built guy in Valdar, and just so many players rolling right now and just keeping it out throughout the entire 82-game series. These players and the Flames just getting so much secondary scoring. And Edmonton really just leading really on Draisaitl and McDavid to carry them. I don't know if Edmonton. They're going to have to get quite a significant secondary scoring. I don't know, from Vander Kame or Bay. If Bear's still on the team, I can't remember. Yeah, they're going to have to get a lot of really push up their secondary scoring and really get their depth going if they want to beat Calgary. So I'm sorry, it's going to be insane series. There's going to be insane hits. Lucci's is going to light it up against some players. Kachuk, Cassie, and there's going to be at least 1 or 2 fights between them. They're going to be slamming and pounding each other on the ice. It's going to be a heavyweight ding 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 ring the it's going to be unreal. Not just on the ice but off the ice. The rivalry in Alberta it's going to be in 80s again, back when the Oilers. I just have that feeling. I wasn't alive during it, but I am so ready to experience what the 80s was like between Calgary and Edmonton. But I have Calgary coming up on top on that one. Washington, Toronto. Oh boy. That's going to be a good one. But I'm going to go right to it and say Toronto is going to go through just because they've been struggling. They haven't gotten out of the first round since 2004. When Calgary went and played Tampa, they were a solid team back then with Joseph and all those other Cujo and all those other players. I see if they can get through Tampa, they can make a run at this. If they can get it through a powerhouse and a 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion team in Tampa, I think the road is set, or the path is set for the Toronto Maple Leafs to go to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 1960, whatever it is. So I'm going to go Toronto, making it into the conference finals. Carolina, New York. I got to bring Carolina's roster up. Carolina, New York's roster. I got to bring this up. Because, oh boy. Name roster. What do they have on their roster? Oh, they got Max Demi, Sebastian Aho, Jordan Stahl won the cup back when he was a young. Oh, they got Ethan Bear. Sorry, Ethan Bear's on the Carolina Hurricanes. He's a solid player. He was solid for Edmonton. Ian Cole. He's got good experience. Brendan Smith. Frederick Anderson. Antti-Ranta. That Anderson can play well. Let's look at now at York Rangers. The New York Rangers roster. Sorry, I don't know as much about the East. Team roster. Savannah Jab, Adam Fox, Jacob Tuba. I don't really recognize how well the goalies really are. So just because they have Frederick Anderson, he's more of a more solid goalie. He's playing more. I'm gonna say Carolina is going to advance to the conference final. Now Colorado, Calgary. That's a tough one. That's definitely a 7-game series. But just not being biased, or anything. Just how consistent the Flames have been. And Colorado coming close to winning their second President's Trophy. And losing, what's his name? Sorry, I forget his name that went to. Anyway, you know how I'm talking about. So it's seeing really dumb. They've lost a few key things. I think it's gonna be a tough series. Flames are gonna really have to play to win this series. But I think Calgary's gonna advance in 7 games. And Toronto, Carolina. Ooh. Frederick Anderson versus former team. Boy. I'm gonna skate with my gut feeling here and say, if Toronto can get through Tampa, they can go to the Stanley Cup Final. I say Toronto, Calgary, Stanley Cup Final. First Stanley Cup Final between two Canadian teams since the 1989 Stanley Cup champion Calgary Flames when they played the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know. Yeah, the Flames haven't gone to the Stanley Cup Final since 2004 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But this team, just the stats they're putting up and just the comparison they're making to the 88-89 Stanley Cup champion Flames is just unreal. Like, you have Johnny Gaudreau coming close to Joe Otto in the amount of goals he got in a season, amount of points he got in a season, and this Lanny McDonald actually being on that team, that 89 team, just making comparisons I saw to, he's making so many comparisons to this team, to the team he played with in 89 is just unstrikingly amazing. Like Kim Cullen, I think it was Mangiapane reminding him of Gary Roberts or Gary Roberts. That's I actually kind of see that. And just the Flames are just rolling right now, and I think with their core, and they have a few UFAs, like one big UFA they have now coming up at the end of the season and over the summer is Matthew Tkachuk. I think he's going to stay with Calgary, but if they him being an assistant captain now, Flames don't actually have uh, a actual captain because of the loss of Mark Giordano, and I think it'll be good. Mark Giordano against his former team that he or I want to say coach, not coach, but helped pave the way, or what am I trying to say? Like, just like with a father figure to all these young players when they came in the team, like Gaudreau and Mangiapane, Kachuk, and just that veteran presence that they learned. I think Calgary's learned a lot, even though he's on the other side now. He would be on the other side in the Stanley Cup Final. They've learned a lot from Giordano, and Calgary's just rolling so well. They got so many players playing so well. I think it's going to be a 7-game series. It's going to be a heck to watch. Finally bring the cup back to Canada. But I say Calgary Flames, not being biased, just off pure talent and just off gut feeling. Calgary Flames over the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup Final. I just have a feeling out of the West, it's going to be either Colorado or Calgary going to the final. And if Toronto can get through Tampa, I can see them playing the Flames in the final. If they don't get through, I can see maybe Tampa coming back to the Stanley Cup Final, but they're the only really I see a solid contender to go to the Stanley Cup Final. Tampa, maybe Carolina. Florida, I'm uncertain with, as I said earlier. I just don't think they have the experience or the depth yet. I think Florida's going to be a great team in a few years. They're going to continue to be the contender. But Calgary Flames winning the Stanley Cup 7 games against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's my prediction. I may be totally biased. I'm trying not to be. I'm just going off how solid the Flames have played this year. I thought they would be a wild card team at the beginning of the year. I thought Will Gaudreau ramp it back up to when they had that amazing season with back in 2017-2018. This is very similar to that team, but they have a great coach. They have a lot more depth, and they're playing with a way better mindset than they did that this year. They have the mindset they want to win. They want to get better, and they've had that mindset the entire season. So that's why I think Calgary Flames are going to win the series or the cup. I think they're going to be 35 games. Yes, I've done that, and that is my playoff predictions. The Calgary Flames over the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup Final. I'm David F. Pilot. David F_Pilot 1990 on Twitch. You can check me there doing American Truck Simulator. And their Flight Simulator, CFC sometimes, Rocket League sometimes. And I think that's all I really played. Thanks for watching. That's my channel. And thanks for watching. Calgary Flames going to win the Stanley Cup 2022. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, have a good one.